we thought that these online services would be a great opportunity for members and friends to speak about their work or their travel or their experiences and to share with us some of their life's journey. And tonight, my mother, Ruth, has will speak to us a little bit about her life's journey and her experiences growing up. She was born in 1921, and if you're good at maths, you can work out how old she is now. She's doing very well, but we are here in the UK, and it's a little too late for her to be here physically present. So we did a recording, and she has spoken about her childhood and growing up and her journey from Germany to England and what that meant for her and her family. And we're going to hear from other people each week that we gather.
I was born and grew up in Siegburg, 10 kilometers to the west of Bonn in 1921. At that time, Siegburg had a small Jewish community of around 50 families. My father was about 9 years older than my mother. During the First World War, my father was a telephonist in the army. He had a mobile phone, by which I mean it was a phone attached to very long wires, and he had to run in front of people and report what was going on. He joined up after the start of the war and was in the Battle of the Somme. My father ran a large shop business with 65 employees. He was a well-respected member of the local community, a member of the Stadtrat, the town council, and a member of the Männergesangverein Chor, the men's corps of Siegburg. The shop that my father owned sold dresses, textiles, stockings, not food, but hats. No, not hats. My father worked his way up in the clothing trade from an early apprenticeship. My father would travel to Berlin to purchase garments for the shop. I remember accompanying him there once when I was around 10 years old. We took the night train and went to a large factory where the clothes were made. There was a fashion show, and the girls wore dresses like we now see on television. My father presented color tokens, saying that he wanted the dresses 3 times in black, in green, or in yellow. My father started singing and my mother started singing at the Köln Hochschule. She was a little person and said herself that she had a small voice, but she was very lovely, lyrical soprano. My parents met at a Purim party, either in Bonn or Siegburg, and got engaged soon after. My mother was still studying, and one day my mother went with a friend of hers to an audition at Köln Opera. Although she did not attend it, the director wanted to hear my mother sing as well, and then offered her the role of Ancient in the opera Der Freischütz by Weber. My mother was absolutely delighted and came home to relay the news that she'd been offered a job. However, my father told her, "You are either going to be Mrs. Cohen or you're going to have to sing in the opera, but both is not possible." Each week, I would take a trip to the Victoria Bad, the Victoria swimming pool in Bonn, and I had swimming lessons. We went by car. My parents had a chauffeur, and afterwards we would have tea at a nice cafe. My father worked hard for 6 days, but on Sundays he would take the day off. My father's great passion was fishing. During the First World War, he used to go fishing with a friend. But now on Sundays he would often take the car with the chauffeur and went and rent a piece of river for the day. All day he would use small fish to try to catch trout. Later on in the afternoon, my mother and I would join him, and he would have the tea out. Later we would go home and eat the trout. Usually it was just one. My father was very keen on nature. My own family were very assimilated Jews. As I went to a Jewish school, I knew the blessings, but I never learned Hebrew, and I didn't have a bar mitzvah until I was 95. We didn't eat pork or sausage, and would go to the synagogue in the Holzgasse, in the old Jewish quarter in Siegburg. And for the 3 high holy days, my father would be wearing a top hat, and my mother would sit in the ladies' gallery where people were assembled in age order. My mother, being younger, would sit at the back row and could neither hear nor see anything very much. At Hanukkah time, we had a Christmas tree. But my mother used to say it wasn't really for us, it was only for the servants. Around 1934, my grandfather, Moses Baum, the old Chazan from Purpelsdorf Synagogue, near Bonn, came to live with us. He was a widower, and it was forbidden to have a non-Jewish housekeeper when the Nazis came. It was remarkable that in a house with so many things, my parents didn't have a Chanukiah. So my grandfather made one by putting the candles on the sink in my bedroom, and he would sing the song. There was a mirror behind the sink, and it was very beautiful to see the light being reflected. With my mother living with us and with my grandfather living with us, there was more Jewishkeit in the house now. We ate only chicken, possibly from the kosher butcher in Siegburg, and my father was more educated in Jewish aspects than my mother and spoke Hebrew. However, for my mother, being an artist was more important than being Jewish. I remember her singing arias to us in the car. When I was growing up, my parents never emphasized that it was a positive thing to be Jewish. I would say that my mother regarded being Jewish was a responsibility rather than a pleasure. And as for me, it was one of those things we just did. Not until later on was it possible for me to deepen that knowledge. Until 1932, I lived a very happy life. My father ran a successful business. We all had many friends, both Jewish and non-Jewish. We considered ourselves to be German, and my father took a leading part in the municipality of Siegburg. Then, in 1937, with the rise of Hitler, all this changed. My parents stopped seeing most of their non-Jewish friends, and they were barred from activities where they could mix with them. Everyone lived in fear. My friends at school who were almost non-Jewish kept apart from me. They had been warned by their parents that they should not mix with me. Everyone was frightened about the consequences of mixing with somebody who was Jewish. Sometimes someone would pass by my parents' house in the evening to ask if we were fine, but this would only be a quick visit. I consider that the people that lived around us lacked moral courage. I remember one particular event in 1933 when I was 13 years old. I was walking as I usually did to school with my father. His shop was beyond the school. When he asked me, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" It was me unexpectedly serious. I told him I would like to go to the university and study German, or maybe I would like to be a journalist. But my father replied, "I'm afraid you won't be able to do that here in Germany. The time for Jewish people is not right now. We are thinking of finding out if you can go abroad to complete the rest of your schooling in another country." For the first time, my father was treating me as a grown-up person and giving me a chance to think for myself. Because of that, I would take things so much better. I think that was very, very clever of my father. Shortly after this, we both joined a class to learn English. This took place at the Jaffna School in Köln. It took some time to organize my departure from Germany, and I don't remember much about the preparations. But finally, in the summer of 1936, I departed from Siegburg. I was excited. My parents made it a sort of adventure for me, because I was not even allowed to go on the train to my friend, who was only about 5 miles away, until I was 11 or 12. And here I was aged 15, going by myself across the sea. My world had so much changed, upside down. The only way I could cope with it was to live for the day. I didn't know if I would return to Germany at this stage, but I knew I would be in England for some years. My parents had arranged I should stay with an English family in a little village called Little Wittenham near Oxford. I attended Witchwood School in Oxford, but only for one term. I loved it. Although I'd come to English to complete my studies by the time I arrived, things had changed again, and the priority was to get my parents out of Germany. My parents had some close friends in America, and they told me that they would try to get to America and pick me up en route. I wasn't keen on this plan because I was very happy in England with the Wood family. They were just my type of people. But things got very bad for my parents in Germany. My father was imprisoned in Dachau and was let out on condition that he gave his business away. The Woods were marvelous and helped to get my parents out of Germany in 1938. The intention was that they would come to England and travel onward to US when their number came up. But by that time, it was wartime, and of course they couldn't go. The Wood family was wonderfully hospitable, and managed to arrange for my parents to join me in 1938. When my father was interned on the Isle of Man at the start of the war, I moved to Oxford to live with my mother. I remained in Oxford until I began my nurse training in 1941 at Staines near London. I married my husband Heinz, also a refugee, in 1948, and had 3 children. One of them you know very well as your Rabbi Michael.
Thank you, Mum. Thank you, everyone. Um, a part of her childhood and her journey to England. And of course, there's a lot more after that, but that's a good taste of what it was like in those days. If there is any question of clarification, I'd be happy to answer anything, but of course, she will be able to answer better. Jennifer.
Michael, I was so struck by her positivity during such a terrible time that the memories that she holds on to are positive. I'm sure there's more than that she didn't share with us, but the fact that there was so much good and positive and that she could smile about, I think that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's always looked forward, and the next adventure is important to her, whatever it is. So yes, she's certainly that you've picked that up very well. Yes. And of course, such a traumatic experience for any child can have lifelong repercussions. I think for her, she built a resilience and, as you say, a positive attitude to all the challenges that were ahead of her and her family, and continued to see life that way. And of course, it's been a wonderful model for all of us in our family to continue to see life that way. Bob.
So did she go on and work as a nurse?
Yes, she did. Lifelong profession as a nurse. My father was a doctor, so they were a good team. She worked in a hospital for a while, but then later on worked as a community nurse. She never became the journalist she wanted to become, and she reads voraciously and she watches the news every day, and she comments on what she reads and what she watches. So she's a natural journalist, but nursing was her profession, and that was something that the refugee women were particularly invited to take up as a profession in Great Britain. There was a feeling that they should not take up places at university because it would displace British girls, women, from places that were the refugees thought that they shouldn't displace the natural born women from their places at university, which, as you will remember, were not very many. Places for women at university were limited. So the nursing profession became an outlet for German Jewish refugee women. And you'll find that a lot of those children who came to Britain, particularly the women, became nurses. BK.
It seems a hard reality that her father was held at Dachau and escaped that, fortunately, but then came to England and was interned on the Isle of Man. I don't think I was really cognizant that that happened so much, so it was um, sad and meaningful to me to know that he went sort of from one one bad thing to another, but obviously not like it would have been at Dachau. So that was just amazing.
Jesse.
I remember meeting your mother a few years ago in Oxford, and it is just wonderful to see how she is right now. That is just amazing. She spoke so well. She read for so long, and she had so much to say, and she's truly an inspiration. I think I'm going to be like her when I grow up.
Thank you. We all should. Well, thank you, everyone. It was wonderful to share that experience with all of you. I was asked, the town she was born was called Siegburg, which was, as you said, about 10 miles west of Cologne, on the Rhine, on the river. Let us now have a song, the Shehesianu song, which of course celebrates life. It's a song that reminds, a blessing that reminds us that we have been sustained, we have been resilient, and we have come to this moment in life. And I think that's a good, appropriate song for our anthem tonight.